I got a question for you. So you was talking about growth, right? So remember, when you was going through all the process when you was buying. No, you already had went through the process or whatever, but you were dealing with some issues with the house. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
like the roofing issue,
Mm-hmm.
and there was some other issue I can't remember, but you remember,
The investment property.
yeah.
Okay.
So the one in Hartford. So
Yeah.
all right, and then remember, it was like so, like like it was so demanding, right?
Yeah.
You had to do a lot, and then
Yes.
remember you called me one time or whatever, and you was like, "Man, I'm going through this." Woo, woo. It happened twice. One, it was like, okay, I need to make a decision about the roofing. Like it was like whatever,
Yeah.
20K, whatever.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Oh, it's gonna, it's gonna once you change the roof, it's gonna last you for like what, 20 years or something like that."
Yeah. It was a
Right?
long
I was
time.
like, okay, like I'm like, that's a good investment. Go ahead and do it, whatever. And then,
Mm-hmm.
but and after later on, something else happened. I think it was with the furnace.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? I don't know. Was it the furnace?
What? At
Like,
what point? What happened?
I think like something like the furnace was no longer working.
Yeah. No. I mean, the furnace wasn't working. The one of the unit was vacant.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The pipe burst. Like a lot happened.
But I was talking about in that particular moment, you called me because like each furnace was like 3K or 2. I can't remember,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then you was
Yeah.
like, man, it's just another like
Yep.
I gotta spend more money. I gotta spend more
It was like
money.
15K altogether
Yeah.
because it was two furnaces
Remember you called me. You was like really
and labor.
down. You was like
Mm-hmm.
emotional about it. Oh, so like take us through that, like, you know, like what was going through your head, like when you were pretty much in a mix of it, and
Mm-hmm.
after you made your decision.
For the roofing, I would say so. The roofing actually that was last year, I think, when I first purchased the property.
Yeah.
And for the roofing, the tenant that was there at the time, which we ended up going through like an entire eviction process
Yeah.
in itself. But the tenant that was there at the time was complaining about leaking. She was complaining about leaking before I even purchased the property.
Yeah.
She said that the old owner had like done some patchwork, but the patchwork was still like an issue.
Yeah.
So essentially, the tenants that I inherited, I purchased the property and the roof was just super old. So I was like, this is a huge undertaking, right? To completely do a brand new roof. However, I want to make sure that nothing is happening on this with this roof because I kept having different people go in, right? And here's the thing also when it comes to contractors.
Yeah.
I kept having different people go in to give me a quote. Some will be like, yeah, it's fine. It could last you maybe about like 5 more years. Others will be like, oh my goodness, this roof like should have been replaced years
Yeah.
ago. It's bound to collapse. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it was very, very, very hard to decipher between like those who were just saying what they were saying for the sake of getting a contract so that I can, you know,
People say
and
anything.
hire them,
Yeah.
or if okay, yeah, no, I can push through this a
Mm.
little bit, you know, put a little bit reserve and then eventually go through and like do a or just sell it, right? Which I
Yeah.
ended up doing without having to do that big of like a capital expenditure.
Oh.
So,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was number one figuring out that, and then that was
Yeah.
super confusing for me, and then also I think we came to the conclusion like, hey, let me get other opinions and other quotes. We had
Yeah.
other contractors that came and said something similar in that like this roof is dated.
Yeah.
And so it really made me feel like if I'm going to have tenants be at this property, I want to make sure that everything is 100% safe. Or at least to the best of my ability, right? I can't continue to go by knowing that, oh, this roof is like super dated. There's leaks when there's, you know, a lot of rain. Leaks kind of go into the light fixtures, you know, like that can cause like electric shocks and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think overall, like I bit the bullet and I was like, this is an investment property. This is a major expenditure that's going to end up
Yeah.
increasing the value of the house, which it did.
Yeah.
And let me just do it.
Paid off eventually.
So that was that.
Yeah.
For the pipes
Mm-hmm.
in the winter, that was just one thing after another. So it was evicting those tenants and then just one thing after another, and then obviously like if you have a investment
remember
property and
when you
no,
when
yeah.
they got evicted, they end up they messed up the whole
They
apartment.
trashed the apartment.
And
That's
they-
another episode.
And
That-
they left the cat too, but
and
go
they
ahead.
left cats
Yeah.
in the apartment that the contractor and property manager found.
Yep.
That's another story in its own. But
So during this whole thing, like, did it ever occur to you at one point, like, yo, I think I might have made a mistake by buying this property?
no.
So you was all in.
I think I definitely had overwhelming times. Like, oh my goodness, I'm so overwhelmed. Like, this is a lot. I don't know what to do. It definitely forced me to go into problem solving mode, like quickly.
Yeah.
As soon as and that wasn't even the work. Like, more and more kept piling on top of when we were doing our own stuff, right? Like planning wedding and all this other stuff. So it was one of those things where it's like something will come up, boom, I like overwhelming feeling.
Yeah.
And then straight right into problem solving.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? Da, da, da. And then I'll obviously talk to you about it as like my outlet and stuff. But never that I think that like this isn't something that because I want to continue to. I enjoy. I've had great tenants.
Okay.
So the great tenants, having my own investment property, having my own cash flow coming in, and like passive income. Well, not so passive at the moment, but nevertheless, having investment property and rental and being a landlord and being an investor outweighed having to deal with some like those cons. I looked at those as these are the things that I need to experience in order to grow as an investor and to build these toolkits in my toolbox so that next time when things happen, I've learned from these experiences, which is why I say growth this year.
So do you feel like with like, you dealing with the bad tenants and, like, you're investing into this property, but things end up going, you end up paying more money, like, you end up coming out of pockets and stuff like that. Do you feel with all the experience and everything you went through, ups and downs,
Yes.
do you feel that experience alone, you were unveiled?
Absolutely.
Boom.